Hi guys, I've got another awesome video for you guys today. This isn't really a project, it's more of a step towards a project. It's how to make some awesome stuff. I think you guys are really going to enjoy it. You might need a parent's help for this, so just keep that in mind. But this is something really cool that you can try at home. Let's get started. Okay, so a lot of you guys might not have any kind of paint at home. You know, your standard watercolor paint that I've been kind of showing you guys some videos of. Maybe you don't have any of this at home. Maybe you don't have any paint at home. Maybe all you have is crayons and markers. Well, I'm going to show you guys how to make some different kinds of watercolor paint using things you might have at home that you wouldn't think of. Some of these are going to be really, really pale. Pale meaning light colored. Some of these are going to be really vibrant. But they're all really cool, unique ways to make paint. So I'm going to show you a couple different ways. I'll post supply lists throughout because it's too hard for me to just post a really long list. But once you get your paint made, you are going to need paper. Watercolor paper is always best for painting on, but I understand circumstances you might not have any, so you're welcome to use construction paper or computer paper or really any paper that you have around the house at this point. You know, it's your artwork, it's going to work, and it's going to be lovely no matter what paper you put it on. And you're going to need water, and you're probably going to want to also want some little jars, some little cups, a little paint tray, little bowls, anything you can to mix your paints in. You'll see in a minute why. So I'll post like the basic supply list, and then I'll start talking to you guys about how to make paint. Okay, so these first paints I have, they're very, very watery and they're very, very pale. I've got a vibrant yellowish color, a little bit greener, light yellow color, and then a darker yellow, sort of brown color. And these were all made by soaking tea. So I'm a tea drinker. I drink a lot of tea, and I have a whole bunch of varieties of tea. So if your parents are tea drinkers, this might be a good project for you. What you do is after they've made their morning tea, the tea bag is still usable. You might not necessarily want to drink it again, but it's still usable. What you do is you soak your tea bag in some water. And I let these soak for like 10 or 15 minutes in hot water. If you do hot water, let it cool down before you paint with it. This was like an English breakfast. This was a variety of green tea. And this was, I think, like a peach tea. So different teas are going to give you different colors. You can also do this with coffee. I don't drink coffee, so I don't have any coffee at home to show you guys. Coffee is going to give you a stronger brown color, and it's going to be a lot darker. So if you have coffee, you should go for it. I will post a link to another site that'll show you how to make watercolor paint with coffee if you want to try that. But these first ones are made from tea. And I'm going to show you what they look like when you paint with them. They're actually really, really, really light. Really light. You might not even see them on my camera. This is the kind of paint that I would actually recommend maybe doing like a layer and then letting it dry, and then maybe doing another layer on top. And that'll help the colors show up brighter and darker. But I really hope that I'm like in your viewfinder right now. If you look at this, you can barely see any color between all three of them, even with that darkest one. The darkest one was still darker than the bottom one, but you can really barely see anything. So either let your tea steep longer, steep meaning soak it longer, use a darker tea, or like I said, try it with coffee. Coffee is a really it's fun to do. I've done it before, I just don't have any coffee to use at home right now. Okay, so that's my first way of making paint. That's a very like natural palette. Natural meaning like earth colors, browns, mud, dirt. The next one I'm going to show you actually smells really good because we are going to use spices. Once again, these colors are going to be brown, maybe some yellow, mostly brown, a little bit of red maybe. But I actually really like earthy colors, and if you were to study art history and the stories behind paint, the early artists, like back in like even before the Renaissance, before in BC, they only had what they grew. They only had natural things. So the only colors they could use were browns and reds and yellows. They didn't have a lot of blue. They didn't have a lot of green. So they used things like this. If you're going to try with spices, you don't want to use like basil. Basil is going to give you, kind of like what happened with the tea. You want to use something that is ground up. So that's why I grabbed chili powder and cumin and cloves, because those were really the only 3 on my shelf that were completely ground up. I've seen people use turmeric. I've seen people use mustard, ground mustard powder. Anything that's ground up. Cinnamon might work as well. Anything that's ground up. And what you're going to do is you're going to, and if you get a parent to help you, you can. You're going to pour a tiny bit, not a lot, into whatever jar or container you're using. And then you're going to add some water. And this is going to be a little bit thicker than our tea because that powder is thickening it. I'm going to go ahead and use my brush. You stir it up. And so this was the chili powder. Let's see what that looks like. So that's giving me a really nice reddish brown color. That would actually be really pretty. After I turn this video off, I'm going to go ahead and make some art with some of these paints, and I'll post some pictures of what I did just to show you guys that yes, you can make art with food. Okay, so that's one color. That was my chili powder. Let's see what I get with cloves. Cloves I'm expecting to be a little bit darker. And the more powder you add, the darker it'll probably be as well. That smells good. That smells like pumpkin pie. Mix that up. Paint it. Yeah, that is more, the artist word for this color is called umber. So this is umber. This is an umber brown. It smells really good, you guys. I wish I could give you like scent vision right now. So there's my umber brown. And then let's see, I have a feeling cumin is going to be kind of a yellowish color. I'm just getting those vibes from this spice. And I was right. It's kind of like the art word for this color is actually yellow ochre. I'll put those words on your screen. We can all learn something, right? Yep, this is the lightest. It's pretty close to being the same color as the tea. If I had maybe not added as much water or added a little bit more spice to it, I bet I would have gotten a little bit darker color. Now, the thing about this is that you are going to get the grains from the spices in it, but that looks kind of cool, I think, anyway, right? It shows that you use something natural, that you made it yourself, and again, it smells really good. So you could have your mom and dad, you could be like, here mom, I made you a nice smelly card, and they would probably love you forever if it smells like pumpkin pie, right? So that's another paint making technique. I'm going to show you guys one more, and this one we are actually going to get some real colors out of. Okay, so if your parents do a lot of baking or decorating of cakes, they might have food coloring. You can also do this with Kool-Aid, or, given that Easter's over, go to the grocery store and buy some discount Easter egg dye. I wanted to show you guys how to do it with Kool-Aid, and I honestly thought I had Kool-Aid, and it turns out I don't have any Kool-Aid. So I'm using food coloring. There's different kinds of food coloring. There's the liquid ones that come in little squeeze bottles. And there's also the kind that come in a gel. You usually buy those at like Hobby Lobby or Michael's or a cake store. And just depends on what your parents have in the cabinet, honestly. But to do food coloring, it's honestly pretty easy. You just squirt, and you have two different things you can do. You can paint with this just like this. And this is going to give you a really, 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 really dark color. If you want to water it down, make it lighter, obviously add water. And the more water you add, the lighter the color you're going to get. Okay, that's actually not much lighter. I think it's because I've got so much food coloring in there. There we go, we'll do that. Stir it up. There we go. So I've got some different shades of green. So it just comes down to how much water and how much dye you add. I'm going to go ahead and show you guys what this gel looks like. The gel food coloring comes in a little container, and it kind of looks like Jell-O. And you just stick your brush in there. Where's my camera? It's somewhere. I hope that you're seeing this. Sorry, I have a bunch of friends texting me Happy Easter because I am making this video on Easter. Happy Easter! Okay, so with the gel, it's a little bit harder to just kind of get in there, and you have to water this down. Okay, put me on silent. And stir that up the best you can. Okay, so I got blue water. And there's still gel all over my brush. I'm going to actually grab a different brush to paint with. Look at that. That's a really pretty blue. And again, if I wanted it darker, I can add some extra gel. And if I wanted it lighter, I could add extra water. Here's a darker blue. See that? Now, if you want to do it with food coloring, I'll go ahead and tell you how to do it with food coloring, or not food coloring. Words are hard today, you guys. If you want to do it with Kool-Aid, I will tell you how to do it with Kool-Aid. Kool-Aid is going to be just like your spices. You're going to open up your packet of Kool-Aid, and you're going to pour however much Kool-Aid you want into your water. You don't need to add sugar because you're not drinking it. You just add water. And stir it up, and you use it just like you did with your spices. If you want to use Easter egg dye, you just put the little circle in your water and let it dissolve. I don't think you need to add vinegar like you do for Easter eggs. I think you can just let the little pellet dissolve in water on its own. But there's so many ways to make homemade paint that you don't need to go buy paint right now. You can do any of these. Yeah. So I'm gonna post some links for you guys on how to make paint other than the ways I showed you today. And I just remembered another technique. I will make a separate video for one other technique that I think you guys would really enjoy. So check that out, check out my links. Go make some art, and happy Easter.